The review of American Id is the first chapter in Disney's Launchpad series, centering on the celebration of Eid through the eyes of a girl called Amina. She, along with sister Zainab, have recently moved to America and struggled to fit in. In fact, Zainab has decided to keep her heritage a secret, even calling herself Zenow. Amina, however, is a bit more optimistic. With Eid on the horizon, Amina's ability to collect up signatures is a nice touch and shows the power of togetherness and embracing different cultures nicely. Zainab is embarrassed in a way by who she is, keeping it a secret from her friends. However, Amina's persistence and passion brings Eid to school instead, with a nice ending that sees all the kids celebrating together and embracing this holiday. American Eid is a little on the nose at times, with lots of exposition to explain the holiday and what it entails, but it does help to inform those unaware of Eid. In that respect, this uplifting short film does well. There's also some ideas around environmental issues in growing older, but these ultimately come secondary to the primary ideas being shown. Either way, this is a pretty good film. Review of second chapter of Launchpad switches the tone and style across to an episode called Dinner is Served. Shioyu is inspired by Alan's leadership at the restaurant and decides to try out for Mater the trials and tribulations of learning a second language, along with being torn between his current and new direction in life. Juxtaposing ideas are beautifully presented, typified by Shioyu's friends playing loud music while he tries to learn the ropes. It's a small segment, but one that reinforces how difficult it is to break free from the norm. Shioyu is easy to warm to, and his little wobble midway through dinner service is actually quite tense. Thankfully, he managed to pull it together and entertain the guests. However, despite his adversity, he learns his position is a given simply because of his heritage. These ideas are nicely woven together, although the film does leave on a somewhat ambiguous note. Review of third chapter of Launchpad is back, and this time we are going for something with a little more bite. Growing Fangs depicts a Mexican-American half-human half-vampire teen called Val Garcia. Sunlight sort of burns her, and she's half invisible in front of the mirror. The whole family are vampires too, except her father who's a human, and there's a tinge of comedy to the whole affair. Val's big drama stems from telling her best friend Jimmy the truth about being a vampire. They go to different schools and are drifting apart. In fact, Val is actually at monster school, complete with magic, werewolves, and fellow vampire Elsie Fang, who's the star of the basketball team. The struggle between vampire and human eventually comes to a head when Val learns that she's not half and half, but actually both. Which I guess is different anyway. The movie basically plays on this idea of cultural identity and embracing who you really are. There's some sharp narration and a nice tone that leans into this being specifically for a younger audience, despite some light frights at the dinner table early on. In terms of tone though, this one feels quite similar to The Little Vampire in the way that it's presented. The film does suffer from a lack of clarity around the world building, and numerous questions could be raised around exactly how this all slots together in the real world. This isn't meant to be taken literally though, and in a way, the picture serves as an allegory. In the song, Do the Next Right Thing from Frozen 2, Anna sings out her grief in a heartbreaking melody. When you lose someone, you have to find a way to carry on, and that's what Let's Be Tigers is really about. Directed by Stephanie Abel Horowitz, this Disney Launchpad short film finds a young woman looking after a boy while still processing her own grief. Noah's dads are going out for the evening and Avalon has come over to babysit. As the toddler chants Let's Be Tigers at his babysitter, we learn that she's suffering from the loss of a family member. But when Oa asks her to make up a story, she finds herself beginning to heal through what she creates. With a heavier theme than most Disney-branded content, Let's Be Tigers has a few charming moments, but is ultimately somber. It deals with a child's limited understanding of the permanence of death, while also showcasing the often profound statements they can make about it. Told entirely within the confines of Noah's house, the setting gives the viewer a sense of claustrophobia that must be similar to what Avalon is going through. Let's Be Tigers is not what you'd expect it to be from the title, nor what you expect from a Disney Plus original. With Disney Launchpad providing storytelling opportunities to underrepresented filmmakers, this particular short has a message about grief and healing, albeit one that was well stated in Do the Next Right Thing. Like the song, it's not very uplifting, but there's a charm to it that's undeniable. Chapter 5 of Launchpad with review Pete's Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, and even Beauty and the Beast are all stories about misunderstood people bonding with a creature that most would fear. In The Last of the Chupacabras, a similar phenomenon occurs. Directed by Jessica Mendes-Siqueiros, this Disney Launchpad short film finds a lonely woman bonding with a mythical creature. Chipa is a Mexican-American woman in Los Angeles who sells hot tamales from a pushcart every day. That wouldn't be so incredible if it weren't for the fact that she's the last of her kind in the city, now a frequent sight on a city tour where she pauses for photos and shocks everyone when she says Buenos dias. Retiring alone each night to her home, she summons a magical creature from her heritage, who brings a little light into her world. Melba Martinez gives a delightful performance as Chipa, who often needs to convey a lot to the audience without having anyone to talk to. The film really celebrates Mexican culture and heritage, with the character opening a box of puppets before summoning Chup, as she calls the creature, who is a large-scale puppet. Primarily using practical effects, there's a handmade quality to The Last of the Chupacabras that makes it feel like it could have been made 30 years ago, like an instant classic. Most Disney of the Disney Launchpad short films, The Last of the Chupacabras stands out among the rest as being the most accessible for an all-ages audience. Even though the puppetry at work is different, there's a Muppet-esque quality to the piece that fans of The Muppet Show are sure to love. If you're looking at the selection of shorts and are unsure where to start, I recommend this as an entry point to the series. The last chapter of Launchpad. How do your interests develop? Some argue that we are molded by our parents to have certain tastes, but most parents can attest to having a child who has no interest in at least something they were passionate about at their age. In The Little Prince, a Disney Launchpad short film directed by Moxie Peng, audiences will see a story about a child who doesn't conform to what society tells him he should be interested in. For any viewers from the LGBTQ+ community, you're likely to connect deeply with this story. Gabriel is a first-grade student who takes ballet lessons and loves the color pink. When he meets Rob, a new student who recently moved from China, the two quickly become friends. But when Rob's dad finds out the extent of Gabriel's traditionally feminine interests, he tries to intervene with his parents. The message of The Little Prince is that you like what you like, and nothing will change that. Gabriel's parents have a different approach to Rob's dad, allowing their son to be exactly who he wants to be without any shame. That's not to say that Rob is constricted. He shows no signs of being not allowed to be himself, but he and his dad have very different reactions to Gabriel. Rob is encouraging, wanting to help his new friend, rather than change who he is. With a title inspired by The Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett, The Little Prince is a charming short film about not being afraid to be who you are. With stories like this available on a wide-reaching platform like Disney+, the future looks brighter for the next generation of kids who want to do what they love, whether that's take ballet lessons or play basketball. Little Prince is now streaming on Disney+, part of Disney Launchpad.